Thanks so much, Kristen. This morning, a state lawmaker is finding himself in the crosshairs of controversy, but says he's not apologizing for comments he made about rape and college students, adding his comments were taken out of context. Democratic State Rep Ken Martinez, the former House Speaker, made the controversial comment at a committee hearing just last Wednesday.
Because rape is defined in many ways, and some of it is just what we call sex.
Martinez made the comment during a hearing about how children are conceived during rape. Republicans say he should apologize regardless.
He's trying to equate rape with drunken sex. Rape is rape, and it should not be excused.
To create a political stunt on something this important, I really think they owe an apology to every victim of rape in the state of New Mexico.
So what's Martinez saying? He says he was trying to say that drunken college students forcing themselves on someone is also a type of rape. Lawmakers in Santa Fe put a big wrench in Mayor Berry's plans to get APD's numbers up. The mayor's #1 priority this legislative session was to get Senate Bill 466 passed. It would let retired officers come back to work, get a paycheck and their pension check all at the same time, otherwise known as double dipping, something the state outlawed 6 years ago. The state's pension program, PARA, said it would further drain the state's retirement fund. In the end, the bill was tabled, and with less than 2 weeks left in the session, it's unlikely the mayor's legislative goal is going to happen. The mayor says the main reason officers are not sticking around is because after years, they have a big incentive to leave. They get to collect their retirement benefits.
That's the primary one that I've heard from my chiefs is that people will walk in the door and say, listen, I've been on the force for 20 years. I love the department, but with the pension program we have, there's great opportunities for me and my family to go out and have a second career. We're going to take the pension and go, but we love the department.
The mayor says Albuquerque is not alone. He says departments across the country are struggling to recruit and retain officers. The homeless have set up yet another tent city in plain sight, and it has state officials scrambling to move it once again. Campers moved onto this land near Lomas and I-25 over the weekend. This property belongs to the state, and now the Department of Transportation is working with state police to serve eviction notices because of concerns over safety and sanitation. Campers say they chose this area because it is close to downtown but far from residential neighborhoods. But area businesses and organizations say it's still a problem, calling it an eyesore. Site surveyors from the DOT were out at the property yesterday afternoon. Eviction notices have not yet been served. A new ruling by the state's highest court means more protection for New Mexico's children. The New Mexico Supreme Court ruled yesterday that the law requires all residents to report suspected child abuse and neglect. The ruling reverses a 2013 decision by the Court of Appeals that limited who was required to report crimes against kids. At a time when the state's largest school district is facing a huge budget shortfall, today they're asking you to weigh in on how the district should spend your tax dollars. But we wanted to know how APS got into this situation in the first place. News 13's Catherine Mazzone did some digging to find out. She's live in the Newsplex with the details. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. This year, APS estimates a $6.4 million shortfall in their budget. It's expected to spend the same this fiscal year as it did in 2010, nearly $650 million. The problem this time, fewer students are enrolled. APS says there are 1,200 fewer students enrolled this year than in 2010. The district says there's just more money going out than what's coming in. District officials say their new budget priorities for this school year add up to $7.6 million. Nearly $1.5 million went towards investments and new initiatives like the K-8 Academy and the Office of Innovation. $3.5 million is to help support more requirements from the state, like testing coordinators for schools. And another chunk, about $500,000, was put aside for salaries, including a tier increase for teachers. When you break it down, the district is short millions of dollars, even after APS already dipped into its cash reserves, pulling more than $1 million at the beginning of the year. The budget shortfall is more than $6 million. So what do these numbers mean for next year's budget? I'll tell you coming up in our next half hour. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks for that information, Catherine. Now, the first community meeting is set for this evening in the John Milne Community Boardroom at the Allison Bruce King Educational Complex. It is set for 6 o'clock tonight. The Oklahoma fraternity, at the center of a national controversy, has been closed down after the university's president gave members until midnight to clear out. The OU president closed a chapter of Sigma Alpha Epsilon yesterday after video surfaced showing several members chanting racial remarks. The students also talked about why they would never allow black students to join the chapter. New Mexico is no stranger to controversy involving its fraternities. The UNM chapter of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity has also had its share of problems here. The university revoked its charter in 2013 after a party where a woman claimed she was raped. The fraternity had been repeatedly suspended and put on probation before that. SAE has to wait until 2017 to file for a new charter. It's now 5:07. GOP lawmakers in Washington are challenging the president on foreign policy, especially on how he handles Iran. Yesterday, nearly 50 Republican senators released an open letter to the leaders of Iran against President Obama's proposal to limit its nuclear program. They warned that any deal reached with the president would last only as long as he remains in office. President Obama and other Democrats blasted that move. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is expected to talk about the recent email scandal. That's according to sources close to her. Clinton will also be addressing the United Nations again today, and it's not known if she will talk about it just then. She was in New York to address gender equality yesterday, but did not say much about the controversy surrounding the use of her private email account. At least 55 people are hurt after a train derailment in North Carolina. So far, none of the injuries appear life-threatening. Take a look at this video. The crash happened yesterday after a train collided with a tractor trailer. Police say the truck was trying to make a difficult left-hand turn when it got stuck right on the tracks. The driver, he managed to jump out of the way, but the train, take a look at this, it ended up on its side. This makes the third commuter train to crash in the U.S. in just less than 2 months. Time now is 5:09. Today, a legal battle over the controversial PARCC test thousands of New Mexico students are required to take is expected to get underway in just a few hours. A Santa Fe judge is scheduled to hear arguments today in an appeal by the American Institutes for Research, or AIR. It wants to limit the contract given to Pearson, which administers the test. According to court documents, AIR says New Mexico's contract with Pearson is unfair. It wants to reduce the contract to a year and wants another bidding process in the future. A ruling in favor of AIR could put the future of PARCC in New Mexico in jeopardy and could spark similar legal challenges in other states. Albuquerque Public Schools want to give you a sneak peek at next year's budget, and they want your take. They're holding a series of public meetings to find out what you deem are the district's top priorities. So how much will the district be working with? News 13's Catherine Mazzone sifted through the documents to find out. She's live in the Newsplex this morning. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. This fiscal year, the largest district in the state is expected to spend a whopping $654 million. That's $34 million more than last year. But while APS was more than $5 million in the black in 2014, they're facing a shortfall of $6.4 million this fiscal year. APS says that shortfall will come out of any new income next year, unless they can manage their spending this year. That being said, they estimate $83 million in new state funding. That's an increase of about $9 million to APS. Nevertheless, the district still foresees a shortfall next year, and if that $6.4 million doesn't change, it could be more than $24 million. So where did all that money go? Part of the shortfall has to do with lower enrollment. The district is also paying more for utilities, health care, and teacher salaries, to name a few. Now, the community meetings will start out with an overview of APS's current $690 million operational budget. From there, they'll take a look at projections for next year based on the state budget. The legislature is still in discussion about that, so numbers we just went over could change. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks for that information, Catherine. Now, the first meeting is at 6 this evening in the John Milne Community Boardroom. That's at the Alice and Bruce King Educational Complex. The district is also accepting input online. Go to krqe.com, click on KRQE links for more information on that. Two students whose lives ended tragically after a car theft suspect slammed into their car will receive their UNM degrees. The Board of Regents approved posthumous degrees for Brianna Hillard and Matthew Grant. The two UNM students were killed in November when they were hit by a stolen truck near Rio Grande and I-40. Investigators say Joshua Leal and his passenger, 16-year-old Miguel Hernandez, fled the scene and were later caught. Two other students were injured in the crash. They survived. Classmates of Hillard say they're happy with the university's decision. The Dean of Students tells us UNM rarely awards posthumous degrees. The families will receive them at spring commencement. The former Santa Fe County Sheriff's deputy accused of shooting and killing a fellow deputy is now claiming self-defense against his dead co-worker. Ty Chan's attorney John Day filed a motion in court yesterday saying Jeremy Martin had dangerous and aggressive tendencies. Day wants the sheriff's office to hand over Martin's psychological exams that were performed as part of his hiring process. He says the exams will back up Chan's claims. The motion also says Martin was the aggressor the night police say Chan killed him at a hotel and that he was defending himself.
Clear evidence about a violent struggle between the two deputies, and that's when Tai Chan was acting in self-defense.
Police have still not said what Chan and Martin were arguing about or what the motive may have been. Both had been drinking, though. The murder trial is set for September. To see the full motion, go to our website, krqe.com. A video of two New Mexico officers beating a suspect is getting the attention of a New Mexico DA. It happened just before Christmas. Las Cruces police arrested Russ Flynn for allegedly threatening a neighbor. Once he was in a holding cell, his attorneys say he kicked the door out of frustration, and it was all caught on video. In the video, you can see two officers rushing Flynn, who was handcuffed at the time. Flynn's attorneys say he suffered a fractured skull and other injuries. They sent notice to the city of Las Cruces that they intend to sue. Las Cruces PD is also conducting an internal investigation. And now the Doña Ana County District Attorney's Office says it is seeking the help of the Attorney General. Another government website possibly hit by hackers, this time affecting the city of Madison's website. The city where an unarmed black teen was recently shot by a white police officer. Dane County Emergency Management reported a high volume of internet activity that's consistent with an online attack. It's not known if this is related to Friday's shooting death of Tony Robinson. The 19-year-old was killed by Officer Matt Kenny, who was responding to a 911 call. Police say Kenny shot Robinson when the teen attacked him. Now, this is similar to what happened in Albuquerque last year when international hacktivist group Anonymous issued an online attack on the city's websites. It happened last year following the James Boyd shooting. Hackers attacked several city sites, including APD's social media pages. Time now is 5:38. Parents from